Hi everyone. This short video is going to highlight a few things about studying psychology that will hopefully make you get the most out of your time and effort in studying in this class. One of the things I really wanted to highlight is the idea of active learning. Even in an online course, it's really important that the things you're trying to get in your head, you're manipulating and thinking about in some way other than just seeing the words on a page or hearing the words in these videos. Let's say, for instance, that on my recent travels I found a coin like this, and I wanted to show it to you, and I wanted you to figure out what it is and what it's like. If I just show you this image, you really can't get a lot out of it. If you wanted to learn about this coin, what would you want to do? You'd want to pick it up in your hand and turn it around and look at the other side, feel its weight, run your finger along the edges and figure out if it's stamped or chiseled. You'd want to, in a term, manipulate and investigate it. Turn it over. That's what I'm asking you to do with the material in this class. That is, turn it over in your hand, turn it over in your mind. Everything that we focus on in this course, you could attempt to learn simply by reading the words and memorizing the definitions. But you'll get so much more out of your time trying to learn this material if instead you take those ideas and try to think about how they might apply to situations that aren't listed in the textbook or aren't described in the video. Let's say, for example, that you read a study that shows that people near a church report more conservative political attitudes. Now, you could take that on face value, or you could take that idea and manipulate it. You could think about why that might be the case. You could weigh different interpretations, and you can investigate it more carefully, and in the end, you'll remember what you learned much better. One of the key things that cognitive psychology, that is, the study of how we think in psychology, tells us about studying is that managing time is one of the most difficult things for people to do. There's this interesting thing we'll talk about in future chapters called the planning fallacy, which is where people always seem to assume that a task will take them less time than it actually will. What's interesting about this to me is that it affects even experts. For example, Microsoft has a standing policy that when they ask software engineers how long it will take them to implement a project, they simply double their estimate. Even though those engineers know better than anyone else how much time something should take them, they always underestimate. I try to account for this planning fallacy in my own work, giving myself twice as much time as I think I'm going to need, and often it's still not enough. Take that research into account as you plan to study your material for this course. Recognize that this is effectively a part-time job, maybe more than a part-time job. You see, during a full semester, you're expected to spend about 180 hours working on a 3-credit course. Over the course of 6 weeks, that works out to 30 hours a week of work on this material. If you try to cram all of that in at the end of the week, that's going to not only be really unpleasant, but you're also not going to remember the material nearly as well. Lots of research in cognitive psychology indicates that distributed practice is much better than massed practice. If you can spend the same amount of time over several days that you would cramming at the end, you'll remember that material much better. And if you distribute the practice, you're likely to spend more time overall on the material and thus remember it better anyway. Finally, this class asks you to engage in discussions with other people in the course. The reason that we do this is not only to encourage active learning, but also because if you want to learn something and you want to really know how much you know about something, you should try to teach somebody else that material. I always found when I was just learning psychology that the best way to know what I knew about something was to try to teach it to my roommates. If they could understand what I was trying to say, then I knew what I was talking about. If they couldn't, or I couldn't quite articulate it, I needed to go back to the material and pay more attention to what I was reading. These online discussion forums are a great place for you to float some ideas and say, hey, this is what I'm getting out of this material, but I'm not really sure I understand it. What do you guys think about this? That discussion is designed to help you understand what it is you know and to help you apply that material in a really active way. I hope that you take some of these strategies into account as you prepare for the course, and I look forward to seeing the results of that preparation throughout the next 6 weeks.